You're listening to Thursday Night AMP on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Thursday Night AngryMarks.com Pro Wrestling and Mixed Martial Arts Podcast. This is show producer Killer Kev sitting in for Stevie J. And speaking of burn, bitch, burn, Apple iPhones can definitely burn tonight as he is standing in line in an Apple store paying out the ass for a replacement for his phone. So that's why the illustrious founder of the network is not here with us tonight. But that's okay because we have two fine co-hosts on the line with us and a great guest to start off. So first, we will introduce the great Sudoku. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Angry Marks. It is almost Halloween Havoc time if Halloween Havoc still existed, and I think NXT should definitely bring back Halloween Havoc.
Absolutely. That would actually be fun. I would love to see them play with some old WCW themes like that. Also joining us on the line is the illustrious Jordan J. Garber, Esquire.
It is great to be here once again on Thursday Night AMP. Your parrot shirt wearing guy is back, and it is great to be back here on Thursday Night AMP. Great to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen, and thank you to the great Angry Marks audience listening to us live on AngryMarks.com. Or if you're not listening to us live, hopefully you're listening through one of the many outlets that we have available, whether it be iTunes, whether it be Stitcher, whether it be the RSS feeds directly. You can subscribe to it all free, of course, through AngryMarks.com. Go there and also check out all the great videos, the news updates, the wrestling recaps, MMA recaps, all brought to you live 100% for free, AngryMarks.com. Speaking of WCW, our guest joining us on the line this evening, coming back after about a year of hiatus, the great alumnus known as the Stro. Good evening, Stro.
How you guys doing? Great to be here.
Fantastic. And we're going to kick off our interview by throwing it over to Jordan to ask our first question.
Indeed, and if many of you guys don't know, well, most of you guys do know, listening to the stuff that I do with VOC Nation on Angry Marks and other podcasts that I'm involved with, I work with the Stro, with the VOC Nation, so it's kind of cool to be interviewing him again and having that feel back when I interviewed him back in 2013. So it's definitely a cool thing indeed. So I'll get right to it. Stro, you started training with Nelson Royal, Gene Anderson, and Ivan Koloff. Tell us how that all started for you.
Well, I was just fresh off collegiate wrestling, doing the freestyle Greco-Roman circuit, working with the Iowa Hawkeyes, and that was a great experience because Dan Gable was like one of my heroes growing up, and it was great to, work with those guys as well as, getting started with the pro wrestling end of it. And I learned a lot from Gene Anderson, Nelson Royal, and Ivan Koloff, three of the all-time best, and those guys paved the way for what lied ahead.
And indeed, you got trained by these wrestlers, but you actually had the honor to face Ivan Koloff and the legendary Wahoo McDaniel, among many other legendary wrestlers of that era when you worked in the southeastern area. That's kind of territory when you started out. Tell us how that went for you, your first few matches, getting this exposure at the start and working your way up from there. How did, just starting out in the business work for you, wrestling these legends?
Very old school. I learned so much from them, being in the ring with them, working with them, just being on the learning tree constantly early in the career was a real blessing and valuable knowledge that I'll always cherish and that I to this day pass on to the younger stars in the industry and to help them out.
Awesome stuff. And then after that, you started to debut in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, the legendary SMW, a huge wrestling promotion full of tons of famous alumni. And you debuted there, and you had a lot of cool feuds. You feuded with Chris Candido, you feuded with Tim Horner, and all that. And you feuded over the Beat the Champ television title during 1994, I believe, if I'm referring to my notes correctly. So, Smoky Mountain Wrestling, walking into the doors for the first time, what was the whole experience like? And what are some memories that you still take back from this day during your time in SMW?
I had a lot of great people helping me out, man. Rock and Roll Express, Tracy Smothers, my buddy Bobby Blaze, the late Chris Candido, God rest his soul, Tracy Smothers, Jim Cornette. It was like Stan Lane even was the guy that helped me out with the MMA, with Japan, UWFI. We had comparison for pride fighting, and I learned a lot through the MMA experience, and got to see, Gary Albright, Vader, Ken Shamrock, and all the MMA fighters back then doing their thing, and I learned a lot from them. And, along with training with Dan Severn, and which we're still friends to this day, and this valuable experience I light ahead. At the time, it had the best of both worlds, the best of WCW, the best of WWE, and a lot of the stars then want to become future ECW legends, like Taz, and you had Chris Jericho, Lance Storm, and a lot of rising stars at that time in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I was very blessed to be a part of it.
Indeed. I'm going to ask more questions later in the interview, but I heard that Jason had a few questions to ask you, so I'm going to bring it to you, Jason.
Yeah, specifically with the Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and Jordan briefly on the SMW Beat the Champ Television Championship, which, if I'm remembering correctly, there was no belt involved. It was a championship where I think, like kayfabe, if you defended it 5 times, you got like $5,000. But yeah, this is when you were feuding with a pre-Body Donna, pre-no gimmicks needed Chris Candido, and I wanted to know what your first impressions were when you were working with Chris Candido back then.
It was funny because Chris and I are like the same age, pretty much in the business. And, man, what a great talent he was! It was such a pleasure to be in the ring with him, and we had some great matches. And Chris was one of those guys that you can put him in a match with anybody and be a classic. And that's just the way he was. I really missed the guy, and he went on to do bigger and better things. And I really think that, if he was still with us, he would have done even more bigger things with the industry. That's how good he was. And so it was really a pleasure. And, I love him like a brother, and I still miss him to this day.
And did you enjoy doing the feud, that the kind of cross promotion between SMW and USWA when that feud was going on? I had watched some clips of that earlier today, and it looked like you were having fun with that. Can you tell me a little bit about that sort of invasion angle?
Yeah, I remember that. I did the big turn. Actually, back at Gorgeous George III, I was teaming with Tommy Rich at the time, Fima Lawler and Christopher, and some of the WWE talent that would come in, like Razor Ramon, Scott Hall Taker, and those guys. And then we did the big feud between Smoky Mountain Wrestling and USWA. I kind of went back to my old Smoky Mountain Wrestling family and sided with them, you know what I mean? So it was kind of cool that things turned out. I mean, seeing Rock and Roll Express have matches as heels against PG-13, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, something just felt right about that. It's just seeing PG-13 get beat down by the likes of them was pretty interesting.
Right.
There were just, huge names there from Tommy Rich to the Rock and Roll Express, to yourself, to Jerry Lawler, to Bill Dundee, Superstar, like you were saying, Scott Hall. And it was an interesting time in wrestling, that mid-90s, like just right before ECW exploded and before the Monday Night Wars exploded. It was kind of this turning point in wrestling, and it was interesting to see some of the promotions there that post world class USWA that was trying to form its own niche, and just some really entertaining times then.
Oh, no doubt. And seeing some of those guys later on when I came to WCW, full time contractually was really cool. Seeing the Jerichos again, the Lance Storms, and everybody that. And then Kevin Sullivan, the guys that I knew way back in Smoky Mountain, that was really cool.
Okay, I'll throw it back over to Jordan for a few questions.
Yeah, Stro. So tell us how you got your whole start in WCW. You know, you started out in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. You had a little run in the USWA. Actually, my mistake. Before we talking about WCW, tell us about your experiences that you had with AAA.
Oh, it was a great experience. I was one of the top, quote unquote, Rudo tag teams with Jake the Snake Roberts, and we got the main event Triple Mania 7. In Mexico City and some of the B towns, you know, around Mexico City and everything. It was a great experience, you know, with being there with Octagon, Perro Aguayo, who's pretty much like Terry Funk. He's a legend in Mexico, and seeing all, you know, meeting Rey Mysterio and seeing some of the great luchadors over there, man. It was just a great time. I learned a lot, and it greatly prepared me for what lied ahead with WCW. Working with luchadors. It was a great experience.
Indeed, and when you started out in WCW, you were Gorgeous George III, and I'm going to kind of sidetrack a little bit by saying that WWE is coming out with a film to, you know, reflect on the legacy of Gorgeous George's career. What do you think about that whole new DVD coming out?
You know, I'm really excited, and I hope they make a great film. Gorgeous George was the pioneer of pro wrestling on television as we know it, and to be of relation to him, being the grandnephew of one of the greatest of all time, it's a big honor. And him and my grandfather were amateur boxing buddies back in the day before, you know, he broke into pro wrestling business. And just to you know, always had a love and passion for pro wrestling, but finding out later on in life you're related to one of the greatest ever, it's an awesome feeling.
You, like I said, you started out in WCW under the name Gorgeous George, but there's a little bit of a controversy from what I heard from wrestling media articles that there is a valet, Randy Savage's former girlfriend, Stephanie Bellers, began using that name. What was that whole situation about?
Well, I was year in WCW as Gorgeous George III, and Randy Savage, a lot of know he's a big Gorgeous George fan from way back, and he wanted to give his girlfriend at the time, Stephanie Bellers, a catchy name, and he came up with Gorgeous George, but for reasons unknown. Which originally, like some years back, we're trying to work out a deal where they're going to bring me under a different name and have Lanny Poffo carry on the Gorgeous George family tradition, which I was cool with that because Lanny had a lot of respect for the Poffo family, and Lanny had that style that, you know, I knew he could make it work, but it didn't go through, and neither did my deal. So I just kept on doing what I was doing. And then when now I was in WCW and he came up with the girl giving her the name, I went to Bishop. I was just perplexed like everybody else. You know, I came to Eric and look, you know, I don't know what's going on in Randy's head, but, you know, I still wanted to work things out. So Eric and I, you know, we had a meeting and then we talked about it and we came with the Maestro, which Maestro was a kind of throwback from the Gorgeous George persona that I was doing, but more of my real life theatrical experience, in which my envisionment in the Maestro didn't really come out until later on my run, because I've always envisioned Maestro more of a family opera-ish type persona. But, and the rest was history.
So being on WWE.com, being on all these articles, the Maestro, you know, that's what you're best known for, is the Maestro gimmick back in WCW. Do you remember the first time you came out to that music and you made your debut under that name? How did that go for you?
Oh, it went great. Matter of fact, Jimmy Hart and I collaborated for my big music and the sheet music that I played. We're the only two really knew anything about music, so I was really glad to have worked with Jimmy because, you know, Jimmy and I, you know, we go way back. You know, we're both fans of Memphis wrestling. You know, we've both been to Memphis. And so it was great to work with Jimmy and everything. So, and a lot of times back in those days, that's when WCW was like really hot and they would pack the Nitros and Thunders and all that. And so they put me this elaborate platform and had me come out of the rafters, basically, just like they would Sting. Only I would be in the contraption with a baby grand piano and the curtains, the candles and what have you. And I would have to kick in the bass because the crowd noise was so loud, you know what I mean, when playing the piano. But I would actually practice with stuntmen, propelling myself from top of the rafters a few weeks prior to my debut, kind of like what Sting was doing, right, at the time. And we were the only I got permission from Bret Hart to do that because I asked for permission because I knew Owen Hart and we were still mourning over Owen's loss. And if he didn't give me the go-ahead, I wouldn't have done it. But he gave me the green light, and away we went.
Awesome stuff. Jason, I heard you have a few more questions to ask the Stro, and I will leave it to you.
I've actually got one more question that was on my mind, because I do remember at the time with the Gorgeous George III name, Randy Savage had legally acquired the rights to use that name, and yeah, as you said, he was going to use that for his brother Lanny Poffo. It didn't pan out, so he used it for his girlfriend / valet. What I'm wondering now is, what is the legal status of the Gorgeous George name, and are you able to wrestle under that name now, or does the Poffo family still control the rights to that name? How is that situation playing out now?
It was just an agreement we had filled out. That's all. I mean, he had to get permission from me, actually.
Okay.
But as far as that went, and to this day, I've always, like I mentioned earlier, I've always had respect for the Poffo family. I'm one of the very best families in the industry, hands down, along with the Guerreros, the Armstrongs. Love those families. I mean, love those families like they're all my own family. And with that, with the Gorgeous George thing, Gorgeous George was a pioneer. He was an innovator. And I kind of want to carry on that deal doing my own thing, just like anybody else should carry on doing their own thing. I mean, that's what makes the business unique. That's what makes the business intriguing for the fans, the fact that we all have our own identity. So, that's what I'm doing, making my own mark in the business, doing my own thing just like everybody else.
And do you use the name when you book appearances? Do you use the Gorgeous George III name still?
Well, I still go on to Stro, and here lately it's been Papa Stro. If some of the fans have been keeping my recent stuff, on through YouTube, different places that I've wrestled. So, yeah, I've gone through some changes, but it's just like life, just like Triple H, Stone Cold, Undertaker, everybody, they've gone through changes through the years, even though they still say the same name, and pretty much that's me, man. I evolved just like life.
Indeed. And I think our producer Kev had some questions he had wanted to ask you here, Stro.
Well, I'll just jump in with this, and you just gave me the perfect lead-in. Who exactly is the Stro in 2015? A lot of our fans, of course, are familiar with what you've done in the past. They may not be familiar with what's going on with the Stro today.
Oh, man. Well, Stro nowadays is off his rocker, man. He's freaking out there, man. He's comes out the fall, calls himself Papa, and does all kinds of freaky things, man. The whole Papa thing's really been catching on, man. It's just it's pretty cool. From the interviews to the matches, it's unique, and I've always prided myself on being different from everybody else in the way I do things. So, that's, I mean, I encourage that with, like, when I talk to other people in the business, do your own thing, be as original as possible, because the more original, the more you stand out, and that's the way I play it.
So where do fans get to see you wrestle these days?
Right now, I'm everywhere, man. Everywhere. I mean, all across Southeast, up north, out west. You name it. Matter of fact, I'm going to return back to Kansas, December 12th at Lawrence, Kansas for ICW Pro Wrestling. And I'm looking forward to getting back to Kansas, seeing everybody there. I got a show coming up in New Jersey for UPWA, which I just recently won the UPWA Heavyweight Championship. That was recently held by Mason Ryan, formerly of WWE, you recall.
Yeah,
so I'll be making my first title defense in Parsippany, New Jersey on November 14th. So I'm looking forward to that. And also on my card will be Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Boogeyman, formerly WWE, and TNA Impact's Bobby Lashley.
Sounds like a pretty stacked card there. So are you pursuing titles in any other promotions at this time?
All the time. Oh yeah, I'll be in WrestleCade November 28th in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. That's gonna be packed full of stars. Oh my goodness! I got that. I got the wrestling thing going on. I got the acting thing, which I'll be on set tomorrow actually for it's Supernatural, the TV series. This past year, I've been on Sleepy Hollow last season on Fox. Secrets of Lies on ABC, and I got a movie premiere November 21st called The Hollow Oak in Wilmington, North Carolina. It's kind of like The Conjuring, and not only am I a witch hunter in that film, I'm also the choreography with the witches' fight scenes. And then I just did a movie with Bill Goldberg that'll be out next year, 2016, called Checkpoint, which the trailer for that movie will be out next week on YouTube. And it stars Bill Goldberg, myself, Brom from TNA Impact, William Forsythe, Kenny Johnson from Sons of Anarchy, Mindy Robinson, all-star cast, man. It's an action-packed military film, and the website you can check out for it is checkpointthemovie.com, and you'll have all the social media, Facebook, Twitter, what have you. It's going to be a rocking film.
That's awesome. Now, funny enough that you mentioned Supernatural, I've watched episodes on it off and on over the last 11 seasons, and I decided I'm going to start watching it the whole season this year. What character are you going to be playing?
Well, I'll be on set playing the role of Roy Fields, from what I understand, for tomorrow's set. So, I'll announce when that'll air, actually, what episode and everything. So, looking forward to it.
Do you know if it's going to be a recurring character, or is this just pretty much a one-off deal?
I'm not sure yet. They haven't told me. You know what I mean? But I'll know more information tomorrow after I get on set with everything, and I'll definitely fill everybody in.
Well, that's a good deal. I really like that show, so hopefully that your work will go very good, and maybe we'll get to see you some more. So, with that,
fingers crossed.
Don't forget, Kev, he was on One Tree Hill, and I loved that show. That was such a good show, and he was on it. So, Stro, you might have to send in a few Stro autographs to the Angry Marks Network.
Oh, you got it.
Well,
just like a One Tree Hill promo photo, and I'll put that on the wall, the One Tree Hill cast. That is amazing. And I'm kind of having fun with this, but in all seriousness, though, being on a big TV series like One Tree Hill, now that's an acting accomplishment, and you should be very proud of it.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
So, Jordan, do you have any other questions for the Stro here?
No. I know I'm going to have the same plugs as Stro near the end of the show. But pretty much we'll wrap up the interview. I had a really good time doing the interview tonight. And Stro, anything you want to plug out there?
I just wanted to. I know my dad's been at the hospital with with his heart and everything, but he's doing better. His procedure went well. He's resting. I just want to thank everybody for the thoughts and prayers for my dad and everything, and to advise to everybody that's listening, for any aspiring wrestlers, the guys and gals of the business, man, persistency pays off. You have your good days and bad days, but don't stop living your passion, living your dream, because it will pay off in the end. You just got to keep at it, man. And for all information, what's going on with me, my official website is stro.com, THESTRO.com. On Facebook at Stro the Maestro, and on Twitter at the Stro, Instagram at Stro Maestro, and be sure to check out my buddy Jordan, all my VOC Nation family there at VOCNation.com, man. We have a great time each and every week.
Awesome. Now, let me ask you this real quick. Do you have about 15 or 20 minutes more to go, or do we have to let you go?
Oh, yeah, as much as you need.
Would you be interested in previewing with us this weekend's WWE Hell in a Cell pay-per-view?
I'd be honored.
Awesome. Well, then we will just go ahead and kick right over into that.
Awesome.
We'll run down the card, we'll give our predictions, and we've got the Stro with us to give some great insider knowledge on it as well. So let me pull this up here real quick. While we're doing that, is anybody else really excited about the card this Sunday?
I am not excited. I'm actually more excited about the New Japan card for their preview to their pay-per-view coming up tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. than I am for Hell in a Cell. But then again, I'm not the biggest WWE fan either. I'm more a fan of the Japanese wrestling. But just kind of going down the card, it's the most interesting thing that stands out to me on Hell in a Cell is the Kane match, where if Demon Kane loses, Corporate Kane will be fired from being Director of Operations, which sounds like TNA booking if I ever heard it.
Quite possibly.
I don't blame you. I love Japan wrestling.
Cool. Have you ever wrestled in Japan, Stro?
Yes, I have. That's awesome.
Oh, which promotions did you wrestle for over there?
Well, let's see. New Japan had the affiliation at the time with WCW, right? And right. I dabbled with the pancreation part a while back, too, with BWFI, I mentioned earlier in the show.
Some of the MMA stuff over there, yeah.
Yeah, brutal. That was before the Octagon.
The Japanese were into MMA with stuff like Pancrase, like you said, and Pride and all that. They were certainly some of the forerunners there. But yeah, there is what is this, Road to Power Struggle for New Japan coming up tomorrow. With Power Struggle, I think, is coming up maybe on Monday. But yeah, the main event is Matt Sydal, Ricochet, and Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on Roppongi Vice, the team of Beretta, Rocky Romero, and Kazuchika Okada. So that's going to be a fun main event, even for a 6-man tag team. So I'm looking forward. I'm actually going to get up at 6:30 in the morning, catch it live tweet it on Twitter with my New Japan friends, review it for the AngryMarks.com site. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, we can talk about Hell in a Cell here too, because more people are interested in that than the Japanese stuff.
I retweet the tweets, though. Don't worry. Jordan J. Garber on Twitter will retweet your New Japan tweets.
Alrighty, Jordan. Thank you.
Well, if you're going to review that show tomorrow, then we need to get Abby on the show next week to talk about it.
Definitely, yeah. Well, I'll hit her up on Twitter because she'll probably be live tweeting too. Abby is another one of my friends on Twitter who live tweets with me during the New Japan stuff, and she's got some wonderful takes on Japanese wrestling as well. She's a little less cynical than I am.
Well, speaking of cynical,
I don't think, you know what, guys? I don't think
Naito
Kane's going to lose. I don't think Kane's going to lose, honestly. Because you remember, like you mentioned, remember when Stephanie said, either you win or the other Kane is fired? I don't necessarily think that Kane, he may not get the title, but at the same time, I don't think he's going to lose.
He's not going to get fired.
That's just my opinion.
Kane's not going to get fired. Yeah, I can't see that happening either.
This is my prediction,
So do you think perhaps that Seth Rollins is just going to grab the title and dash for it after he realizes he's not going to get the upper hand in this match?
I don't blame him. I'd run too. I said, screw this.
Well, kind of take a turn of phrase from the Fresh Prince. A good runner is better than a bad stand any day.
Right.
Well, what if we get some kind of dusty finish, like Kane winning by disqualification, where Kane doesn't lose, but he doesn't get the title either?
That might be possible. That actually might be a possible outcome. Very possible, actually.
So, Jordan, what's your prediction on this match?
I'm going to say, that's a tough one, man. I'm going to have to say that Kane's going to lose. There's going to be a little storyline going on for like 2 months, and he's going to come back. So Kane's going to get fired, but he's not actually going to be fired. He's going to leave for a bit, take some time off, I'm guessing, and come back. I just don't see Kane winning the title again, unless the WWE wants to give Kane one more title reign. That could be possible, but I think it's too soon for Seth Rollins to lose the title. I think he's going to have it for quite a bit longer. So I'm going to say Seth Rollins on this one. But think of it, like, I just wanted to say something out of a comedy perspective. Like, think of this as in a real life fight situation where, you don't know who you're going to fight because, say one of your friends is mad at someone or whatever, and he's mad at you, and he comes out in some demon costume. Like, I would run away. So I don't know. I just wanted to think of it in that perspective. It's kind of funny. But Seth Rollins versus Kane, my prediction is going to be Seth Rollins on this one. Kane's going to leave, like I said, but not for long.
I think it's going to be Seth Rollins over Kane as well, because the pattern I've been seeing the last couple of months with Seth Rollins' title reign is they've been feeding him the big names. And the more wins he gets over very established stars, the more it establishes his own credibility as a real player in the WWE. So I think it's just going to be pretty simple. It's going to be a good grueling match, and Rollins is going to escape by the skin of his teeth, but he's going to escape. And I'm going to agree with Jordan here. Corporate Kane gets fired, that's fine, but they're going to bring him back 3-4 months down the road. He'll get some nice time off. He'll get some Christmas time with the family down in Knoxville, and they'll bring him back again.
Hey guys, how surreal was it the other night seeing Seth Rollins in the ring with Shawn Michaels? Wow.
Yeah, that was really something. It was kind of nice to see WWE bring back a lot of the older guys to kind of pop the crowd and pop the pay-per-view a little bit. And for the most part, I thought it worked. Even having Ric Flair out there with Roman Reigns, that actually seemed to have worked for the crowd a little. Or perhaps I'm the only one who saw that.
I actually had the opportunity to catch Raw, and yeah, it was really cool seeing like future Shawn Michaels in the ring with the legendary Shawn Michaels. And I'm usually one of the guys that's like, oh, if you're playing a character, I learned this from Bruce Hart, is that you kind of don't want to be the next Shawn Michaels. You kind of want to make your own legacy by using your own character as a wrestler. But I liked how that whole segment went with Seth Rollins and Shawn Michaels, because I just thought it was really well put together, and it was a really good segment.
I agree. It was a good segment. Now, kicking off at the very start before the pay-per-view even, we got what I think is really one of the best group of wrestlers WWE has right now, kicking off the pre-show, and it's pretty much it may end up being a rehash of what we already saw on Raw. Ziggler, Cesaro, and Neville versus Rusev, Sheamus, and Barrett. Jordan, what are your thoughts on this match? Who do you think's going to win?
I'm gonna have to say Dolph Ziggler, Cesaro, and Neville, because I just have a gut feeling that the baby faces are gonna go over in this match, and I believe that's what's gonna happen.
Stro, would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, gosh, I enjoyed the match on Raw, and I think this one coming up in Hell in a Cell is a little disappointing.
I would agree there, and I'm gonna make us a third vote for Ziggler, Cesaro, and Neville. Rusev, Sheamus, and Barrett got the win on Raw, so I think the good guys here are going to get their due turn, and it's going to pop the crowd really good and get them real warmed up for the start of the pay-per-view. Jason, are we gonna be in complete agreement with this, or are you going to go the other way?
We are, but yeah, for me, it's not so much baby faces and heels. It's just more the fact that guys like Rusev, Sheamus, and Barrett are so stagnant and doing absolutely nothing that putting them over would kill any kind of push that guys like Neville and Cesaro would get. It's like Ziggler, Cesaro, and Neville really need this win, and then Rusev, Sheamus, and Barrett really need some kind of reboot to their character. But yeah, I don't see them going over just because they've done sweet fuck all as of late.
Alrighty, well there you go. Heading into the pay-per-view, I don't have any listing of which match is going to be first, so I'm just going to pull stuff out of the thin air here. We've got Kevin Owens defending the WWE Intercontinental Championship against Ryback. Stro, how do you feel about this match?
Kevin Owens, he's been an eye poker, no pun intended, as of lately. But I think it'll be a pretty solid match. I mean, I know Ryback's really stepped up as of late, and you got two big guys going at it. In which I'm thinking it'll be a solid match, but I kind of want to go with Kevin Owens retaining the title.
All right, Jason?
Yeah, I think I will agree with the Stro on that one. It's too soon to strip Owens of that title, and Ryback, again, is kind of stagnant and has kind of had his chance with different runs here and there with the IC title and hasn't done much with it. And at this point, Owen needs to win in the title more than Ryback does. I'd see Owens going over in this one.
Yeah, I'm pretty much pulling for Kevin Owens as this one. I don't think Ryback is necessarily stagnant, but he's been a good challenger for Kevin Owens. So, but I definitely see Owens going over on this one. Jordan, you got the last thought here.
On the Kevin Owens versus Ryback match?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna say that Kevin Owens is gonna retain. We already seen enough title reigns from Ryback as the Intercontinental. I think he held the title once. Am I correct? He held the title once?
Yes.
Ryback has, and it wasn't too recent. It was very recent ago. Kevin Owens is retaining. They need to build Kevin Owens up, hopefully one day soon, to a main event level. So they are gonna have Kevin Owens retain the WWE Intercontinental Championship.
Alrighty, and moving on into the card, we have a singles match for the WWE Divas Championship. Charlotte Flair with Becky Lynch defending the title against Nikki Bella, who is going to be bringing Brie Bella and Alicia Fox with her. I'm going to say that they leave the title on Charlotte. I don't see them swapping it off of her so quickly. But they may end up doing it with Charlotte having to win this one by disqualification because just because of, I don't know what excuse. I really hope that they don't try to use the twin magic, oh, I screwed it up with my boobies angle again. That's getting pretty old. So I don't know how exactly they do it, but I think Charlotte still ends up with the win. Jason, what do you think?
Exactly. For the same reason that I think Kevin Owens is going to win. It's too soon to take the title off of Charlotte. She's just won it. It's like, I'd actually like to see Charlotte retain it by DQ, you know, have her use some of that dirtiest player in the game thing that her father kind of came up with and say, I've got the title, I can get myself disqualified and hold on to the title. But, yeah, I don't see it going back to the Bellas. Charlotte needs a run with this title. We can see what she can do, and I don't see her losing the title in this. Granted, she might lose by disqualification, but I don't see her relinquishing the title.
All right. Jordan?
Totally like Jason said, and like I said on the Kevin Owens and Ryback match, it's too soon for her to lose the title. She's new on the roster. Nothing is happening soon with her in regards to her losing that title. It's a filler match. Like I said, I've always been on Angry Marks before talking about the filler matches. This is another one. They need to put a match on the card. They need a Divas match, and that's what they're doing with Charlotte and against Nikki Bella, and Charlotte will retain the title.
Alrighty, and Stro gets the last word on this one.
Well, I'm in agreement. Charlotte will retain, but I think you're going to be seeing more tension between Charlotte and Paige somehow, which is something that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing those two gals start feuding.
There you go. All right, so next up on my list, we have the WWE Tag Team Championship match. The New Day defending against the Dudley Boys. Stro, how do you feel about the Dudley Boys making this run in WWE at this point in their career?
It's amazing. I mean, those guys are just like oozing charisma right now. It's just, I mean, they click so well together, and they're the most entertaining part of Raw every week. I mean, I really enjoy watching those guys. I mean, they have really come together, and I had a great run with the tag team title so far, and I'm really enjoying the feud right now with the Dudley Boys. And it's going to be a solid matchup. You know, I'm a big fan of both teams, but you know, I got to go with New Day, man. Like my boy Derek from VOCNation.com, he's all about some New Day. You know.
Oh my goodness, Derek goes on the show every week, every Tuesday on In the Room, and he'll always talk about the New Day. And there's this great asset to VOC Nation as well called Rat Boy, who will always diss the New Day, and it's the best segment on In the Room. Another reason to check that out every Tuesday on VOCNation.com. But I'm actually going to say in this matchup that we're going to see a huge surprise, and this is my long shot prediction. I always do one per pay-per-view, and my long shot pick will go to this one, and the Dudley Boys will win the WWE Tag Team Championships. It is very possible. They just returned to the WWE. You need a surprise on the show. I know you got your Undertaker match, but I think this is going to be a shocking surprise. I'm probably maybe wrong, but I'm actually going to go for it, and my pick is going to be the Dudley Boys to win the titles.
All righty. And Jason?
I'm going to agree with Jordan on this one. I think the Dudley Boys are going to win the titles. I'd like to see them kind of hot shot the belt, give it to the Dudley Boys, but then have the New Day win it back very shortly just to show that they can hold their own with the Dudley Boys. Just because they get beat once and lose the title, they can come back and win the title. It's not that the Dudley Boys need to. It just kind of makes the feud a little more interesting if the New Day drops the belt and then immediately gets it back.
I kind of waffled on this a little, but I think I'm going to go with the Dudley Boys winning it, and basically just for the reason to say they've won it 10 times, but I'm going to agree with Jason. Raw the next night, you get a rematch, New Day retake that title. So I think that's where that's going to go there. Let's see. We've got John Cena defending the United States Championship in an open challenge with a challenger yet to be determined. And I've not read any spoilers which have revealed who that is going to be yet. So the rumors that we've heard is that John Cena is going to be dropping this title possibly at the pay-per-view tonight so he can take a few months of time off. Any predictions open from anybody on who you think the challenger might be?
I've been reading on news websites, and I've heard from some sources, actually websites that my name's been mentioned on as well, which is an honor. But going back on topic, I'm thinking it's going to be Daniel Bryan from some articles that I've read.
All right. Do you think Daniel Bryan takes the title then?
Well, like I said, John Cena's going to be taking time off. This should be an easy prediction for the whole panel here tonight. And I'm going to say that John Cena loses the title at himself.
All right, Jason? Who do you think is going to be stacked up?
I have no idea who it's going to be. I'd like to see it be Finn Balor and see Finn Balor take the title from him, but I doubt that's going to happen.
So no prediction on who it's going to be.
I'm going to say Finn Balor, even though that's a long shot. That's my dark horse long shot, 500-1, Finn Balor.
And do you see Balor upsetting Cena for the title? Or does Cena go on to defend it for one more pay-per-view?
Cena would go on to defend it for one more pay-per-view because of how involved Balor is with NXT.
All right. Stro, any predictions here?
I got 3.
Go ahead.
It'd be Finn Balor, Baron Corbin, or Tyler Breeze.
It's interesting you mentioned Tyler Breeze. That he's supposed to be making his debut on SmackDown this week, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be pretty interesting. Do you see any 3 of these guys defeating John Cena for the title on Sunday?
I can look for upset from either one of the 3, honestly.
Okay, well, I am going to go on the theory of 3 as well, except it's not going to be any one of 3 possible men. I think it is going to be one of the 3 men from the New Day. After they lose the titles to the Dudley Boys, I think there's a very good possibility that one of them steps up and challenges John Cena, and between the 3 of them, you're going to see shenanigans, and Cena gets screwed out of the title. So combined with that, with the New Day retaking the titles on Monday, they are holding the 3 mid-tier championships in WWE and really establishing themselves as players in the WWE. If you thought they were over the top before, put all 3 titles on these men and see how crazy they go.
That could happen.
All right, and then heading into the top end of the card here, we've got undoubtedly what will be the semi-main event of the show, Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt, Hell in a Cell match. Stro, where do you see this going?
I'm a fan of both these guys, honestly, and I hope that big things lie ahead for both these guys because I'm a big fan of both of them. Honestly, I can see this match going either way.
Alrighty. Okay, then. Jordan, what do you think?
About the, what match are we, covering?
Keep up with the conversation here, son. Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt.
Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt. Okay, cool. I kind of just got a little lost there because I just got I got a tweet from one of the fans and I was just reading it, so I do apologize for that. But,
okay.
Reigns,
hold on. If you got a tweet in the middle, you got to share it.
One of the fans just said, really enjoying the show. Enjoy listening. Can't wait to tune in more. So, that's one of the tweets from the fans.
Awesome. And who are we giving a shout out to for that?
I believe that is Calum Levine, at Calum Levine.
Awesome. Thanks for listening there. All right. Now, Jordan, predictions.
Roman Reigns against Bray Wyatt. We are looking at the end of the feud. Roman Reigns brought it up on Raw. And to end the feud, I think it's going to end with Roman Reigns going over because they need something to do with Roman Reigns. And I kind of believe he's going to kind of be pushed slowly back into the main event picture. So this is the match to do it. So I'm going to say Roman Reigns is going to win this matchup.
I'm going to agree with that as well. I don't have anything to add. They've kind of dragged this out for a while. And I'm, in a way, I've kind of enjoyed the matches, but also in a way, I'm looking forward to the end of it. And I think you probably are going to put an end to it, especially with the fact that Randy Orton was supposed to be tied up in this as well. And he's got a shoulder injury, as we've now found out, which is why he was written out of the picture on Raw. So hopefully we're going to be seeing a change in the storylines here. But I'll go with Roman Reigns going on top because I think that's probably going to make everybody feel good. I hope it makes everybody feel good. I hope we don't have boos throughout this match. Jason, you get the last word.
Yeah, Roman Reigns is going to win this. The Hell in a Cell is going to be the feud ender that ends this feud, and Reigns needs it at this point, needs the victory more than Wyatt does, especially in a match like this to kind of step up, excuse me, and get back into the main event picture. So yeah, Roman Reigns over Bray Wyatt in the first Hell in a Cell match on the card.
There we go. And last match of the night, we have the rematch, hopefully being billed as the final rematch, The Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar. And I'll just go on record right now. It's going to be Brock Lesnar. They're going to try to make this a competitive match, but really, I hope they don't. I hope it's an absolute beatdown by Lesnar on The Undertaker, beating him down so badly he never, ever wants to come back and compete in a WWE ring ever again. It's time to retire The Undertaker. All hail King Lesnar.
Give him one more year. I say one more year. And I say that every year, and I know Stro's laughing, and it's gonna, just one. Like, I mean seriously, just one more year. Like, I don't like the way you put that, Kev, just because I like The Undertaker. He's still good for the kids, good for the children's audience. He's still up there. He's kind of cool. They're moving him to kind of like a heelish, run. But, have this match and your WrestleMania match, then you're done. I want to see Undertaker's career end on top. I don't think Hell in a Cell is the place to do it. If he does lose, he's going to come back at WrestleMania, go over, and then he's good.
All right, Stro, you get the last word here.
Just when you thought Taker was out, he comes back. Oh, man. These guys have had a great feud through the years, back and forth and everything. But let's face it, Brock is a beast, no pun intended. And I think there's still bigger and better things to come for Brock Lesnar in the WWE. So I got to go with Brock Lesnar, man. He's awesome.
Hey, what happens if this happens though? Undertaker loses, but 2 months later he comes back again. Where did you guys do that? Like, he's gonna lose the match and then he's back on Raw again, and it's another whole big feud. I'm just kidding. That's not gonna happen.
Please, no.
Does he show up at TLC or does he?
Just we don't need Methuselah Calloway to show up anymore. I mean, we've got a former.
What were you saying, Jason?
The heavyweight champion in his 30s taking on a 5,000-year-old guy wearing eye makeup. And it's just, yeah, I mean, like Kev says, this should be a beatdown. This should be an absolute freaking beatdown. And yes, Undertaker, it's time to retire.
You gotta respect these opponents, though, in the industry, indeed, though. And if he does end up losing this match, and this is indeed his last match, which I don't believe, but if it is his last WWE match, then you gotta pay tribute to the legendary career that The Undertaker has had. But I don't know, how old is he now? He's like 50, and he's getting older, and the more matches he has, the more damage he's going to do on his body. So there's obviously, everyone knows that there's not too many matches left in The Undertaker's career, and there's a small chance that this may be one of his last.
Yeah, he's 50 years old, and I'm pretty much thinking, this may not be his last match ever, but it needs to be his last match for a really, really, really long time, and I'm saying at least 3 years before you even think about bringing back Undertaker for any kind of nostalgia match. I mean, he's obviously never going to be on the main roster again. He's not going to be working house shows, and we've kind of done this thing for a while where he pretty much only shows up at WrestleMania and maybe one more pay-per-view a year. I think it's time to look at him being at least semi-retired at this point. But I don't know what would you do with The Undertaker outside of him wrestling in matches? Does anybody see a place for him in the company as a character besides wrestling?
Maybe just spooks on Raw to scare people.
Well, maybe he'll be your, maybe someone will go out for Halloween or something and go to a random house back in Houston, Texas, and he'll just open the door and it's like, oh my god, it's actually The Undertaker. That would be a pretty cool Halloween moment, but, you never know what's going to happen.
Tough enough.
The good news is, though, for him is if he's not wrestling, he's still going to be making millions of dollars because he's going to have some behind the scenes role with the company. So the Undertaker's in a good position, and he has indeed earned that right to sit on his butt and get paid for it when he is not wrestling. So definitely a legendary career, and this match is just going to be another one to add to his resume.
Speaking of scaring the shit out of people, odds that we see a return of the Boogeyman on Sunday.
That could happen.
Could happen, indeed.
You know, how about instead of Ron Simmons showing up every now and then and dropping a damn, we just get Boogeyman just randomly showing up instead.
Nice.
Or Jordan J. Garber makes his debut at Hell in a Cell. I'm just kidding. That's not going to happen. Let's play some like Goldberg music and I come out to the ring. I'm just kidding. That's not happening.
No, I don't think that's happening either. So
that was an awkward moment of silence. I tried to put in my 2 cents of comedy, but no. No one wants to see Jordan J. Garber at Hell in a Cell.
No, nobody wants to see that swizzle chest. We're done with that. So speaking of done, I think that is pretty much our preview of WWE Hell in a Cell. Of course, you can watch that on WWE Network this Sunday. It's just $9.99. How many yen is that, Mr. Sudoku?
Let's take a look. How much is 999 yen here? 999 yen for the New Japan Network is $8.27.
Holy
so
crap!
We wanted to see how much.
I just thought to myself, that is the number it's going to be. I didn't look it up. I didn't have any converters in front of me. I don't follow currency. I just randomly guessed $8.27. So let's do it the other way. What's $999 in yen?
$9.99, you mean?
Yes. That
would be 1,205 yen.
A little bit pricier in the Japanese market there. Did I say $999?
Yes, you did.
That's about how much a bleeder seat for the WrestleMania 32 tickets are going to be in Texas, right?
Yeah.
How much are we ponying up for that?
And here's a fast fact. Actually, when Jason's done, I have a fast fact to put in there.
Go for it.
1 Canadian dollar equals 92.22 Japanese yen.
There you go. So, anyway, we're done previewing the pay-per-view for this evening. Our guest this evening has been the Stro. Thank you very much for joining us on the predictions as well, sir.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. Have a good night. And before we get going here, we've got a few minutes left in the show. Anybody else have anything else we want to discuss this week?
I think we pretty much covered Hell in a Cell. We had an awesome interview with former WCW star The Stro. You can also hear him on In the Room alongside myself. But great to have Stro back on AngryMarks.com. Indeed, really insightful interview. Told a lot of great stories and a lot of good moments there to add to the resume of Jordan J. Garber and your guys' as well. And we did preview Hell in a Cell, like I said. So for me, I think we covered mostly everything. But if you guys want to chime in with anything, you guys can feel free to do so.
Awesome. Jason?
Yeah, one subject I did want to touch on before we go off the air, and that was the TV debut of James Storm on NXT this week. Did anybody happen to catch that?
Actually, that is really good news, and I did hear about that James Storm thing, and I should have added that to the show. And thank you, Jason, for correcting me on that. And because that was really big news. James Storm from TNA did debut on the WWE NXT. It kind of the WWE NXT, and before I pass to you, Jason, I think that WWE NXT kind of reminds me of what TNA used to be in 2004 to 2007. It is like TNA, but the good version of TNA. It's fantastic. It's great to see James Storm not back, making his WWE NXT debut. Indeed, a great moment in NXT history.
Well, you might want to say he's back because there may have been a lot of people who did not catch the TNA's transition over to Destination America. You know, that might not have been in their market or on their cable channel. Cable tier or anything like that. So it might be a reemergence of the Cowboys. So yeah, I'm excited to see it too. I haven't seen the match yet. I haven't seen the episode yet, but when I get a chance, I will definitely be going back and catching that as well. Jason, give us some plugs before we get off the air tonight.
Sure. All right. Yeah, definitely. New Japan World, njpwworld.com, 999 yen a month. We told you that's $8.27, less than $8.50 for, you know, a month's worth of New Japan programming. Definitely worth it. I'm a vegan. Veggiebending.wordpress.com, and you can get at me on Great Sudoku.
There we go. Stro, before we let you go, one more time, give us your plugs. Where can we find you? Where can fans meet and greet and communicate with you?
Okay, great. My official website is www.thestro.com. Facebook at Stro the Maestro. On Twitter at The Stro. And Instagram at Stro Maestro.
Awesome. And I don't have any social media stuff that I want anybody to follow at all because I am just that much of a curmudgeon. So sorry about you. You know, I don't have any fans anyway. And that's probably why, because I don't put myself out there like that. But I will put out there the rest of the Angry Marks Podcast Network stuff going on. Every Monday night, it is the Raw Reaction with Angry Tenzai and Big Vic covering everything WWE Raw related. Tuesday night, we have the Undisputed Wrestling Show with the bearded wonder Zane Paisley and three great men in professional wrestling, the veteran Q-Ball Carmichael, you've got Drew Skills, and you have the NWA Continental Champion, the Morning Star, William Huckabee, doing great interviews with great guys, both legends and on independents. This past week, we had Dan Spivey on the line with us talking about a lot of the new stuff he's done, his lawsuit with WWE, and his falling out with Billy Jack Haynes recently, which unfortunately we here at Angry Marks have kind of had to have a falling out with as well. But you want to catch that episode definitely. And further on in the podcast week, Wednesday night, Glove Up or Shut Up, covering everything in mixed martial arts with Stevie J and Peter H. Of course, Thursday night, AMP right here. Friday night, you have Over the Top Radio with Ed in San Antonio and all of his crazy friends, wrapping up our week in pro wrestling and mixed martial arts news. And then sometime during the weekend, we will get to the Impact Implosion with Seth Draken and Mike Poulin, covering whatever is left of TNA Impact Wrestling. So that's all we have to plug here. As I said at the beginning of the show, check out AngryMarks.com for all of our podcast news, reviews, recaps, whatever it is. If it's in professional wrestling, if it's in mixed martial arts, or if it's in professional pillow fighting, check it out right here, AngryMarks.com. We've got you covered. So thank you for joining us this week. Catch us next week. Good night.